Good morning again, everyone. Thanks for being here. I hope your holidays met all your expectations. Not that we have any expectations around the holidays. Today, if you didn't notice from the meditation, my talk is around what I entitled Our Heart-Centered Joy. To me, the heart is truly the center of all of our daily thoughts, activities, our essence, our plans, our goals, all surround our heart. And as this year draws to a close, we have the opportunity to reflect on our past accomplishments, whether we completed our plans and our goals, as well as reflect on any regrets, guilt, problems we may have left unresolved. Perhaps in the past you decided to follow footprints and maps that were created by others. These other paths promised to take you to your desired destinations. Or maybe you realized you've outgrown those trails that were laid down by others and they were never really yours at all. As we reflect back, what are we doing? We're reflecting back on the past, this past year. And when we follow the old roads of the past, it can leave us feeling uneasy and without this heart connection that we long for as we attempt to move forward. We often have to let go of old beliefs, old attitudes, old behaviors, in order to make space for new ones to take root in our lives. And that's always seems to happen around this time of year. I believe more and more that we are at a crossroad in our lives, where repeatedly the ways of these old maps and ways of doing things will take us away from our joy when we continue going back. Here are a few things to reflect on. How often this past year did you choose to trust your heart, like stepping into fresh sand that bears no limiting prints of yourself or others to create new heart prints? If someone wrote a book of your life this past year, what kind of genre would it be? Would it have been a comedy, a love story, a drama, a mystery, a thriller, something else? We can always go back and write stories for sure. What was the most frequent mental state you had this year? What did you think about more often than anything else? In the past year, what percentage of your life did you choose to feel joyful and grateful? Not to feel guilty or have regrets about any of it. Just to reflect. This is just an exercise in reflection. In what ways did you nurture yourself in this past year? The key then to me is to realize that none of your past experiences, this past year or any previous year, define you, define your heart, define who you are. If we choose to take time for this inner reflection, we can make the choice to step into something new and different. That's all. Not regretting, not having guilt, just deciding. Would I like to choose something new and different? Not just in this calendar year, not at the end of this calendar year, but every day. I'm not going to show you my side Christmas profile like Jim did of your past. We can take a moment now to hear the call of our hearts. Our hearts are always whispering to us, and recognize if we are aligned with this joy, this Christ light that's always there, which is joy, which is love. We can be silent for just a moment and hear and recognize. So what about this heart of yours? The heart has been known to be the treasured seat of all we hold dear. It is at the core of what takes place between our spirit and our soul. It's the center of our being, the force of the God within, where we experience the truth, where we are the truth, greater than any experience or anything we could ever think or carry with us. It's not the truth of our beliefs, but this is the omnipresence of the God, which is love. What we experience in our life and how we integrate the highs and lows that are always coming affects our heart deeply. We may even tell ourselves, I'm heartbroken. My heart aches. That hurt my heart. You may have said that, or you may have heard many other people say that. This is a choice that we make in how we integrate and experience our world, how we take it into this heart center of ours. These thoughts can dramatically impact our spirituality, our thoughts about God, and our purpose in being. In the Bible, in Corinthians, it is written, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not onto your own understanding. This is this inner heart calling. It's always speaking to us. In A Course in Miracles, it says, I am one with God. God is my companion as we walk the world a little while. This is all done in a very short time being here. And when we are not feeling that joy, it seems like a very long time. We don't do anything alone, and our hearts are always whispering to us. This heart is the doorway that makes way for this change that we're asking for, this joy that we're looking for in this human heart and soul that we have. Our heart reminds us to trust ourselves, this Christ light within, and tells us that we have all the inner resources we need to create new paths, to live an extraordinary life now. We don't have to wait for the new year to come. We don't have to wait for tomorrow. Each thought brings us to where we want to be. So we feel this joy in our hearts. But often, we may feel confused. We may feel scared. You will know exactly what to do when you open this path to your heart, because this is where the wisdom of this joy is. This path to the heart also comes with integrity, which means we honor everyone and the choices that they make. For each person is on their own heart path. Our thoughts about the world can create lots of misperceptions, especially the one that thinks we've sinned and are separated from God. There was a young woman who one day went to see her priest. She said, Father, you must forgive me, for I have sinned. My goodness, said the priest. What is your sin? The woman said, Oh, Father, I have committed the sin of vanity. Every day I look in the mirror and I say, you are gorgeous. You are beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Oh my, the priest said. That's not a sin. That's just a mistake. So, the way we see the world and the way we perceive it, and we perceive ourselves, to me, are easily mistakes that we can correct or not correct. They are correct in ways of thinking, is all we're doing. Not to punish ourselves and have regrets, feel guilty for things we should have done or should have said. Where are all these mistakes now anyway? They're in the past. Can't bring them back. Course in Miracles continues to state that mistakes can be corrected because they are just false errors in thinking. What else happens as the new year approaches? Guilt can come up as you review your past. All that means is that you've forgotten that anything you think can be changed. You can change your way of thinking in any moment. As long as we think the problems of our past are out there being done to us, we don't have to look inside to hear what our hearts are trying to say. Everything is being told to us within this dear heart of ours. We don't have to find joy in our hearts. It is already there. Our heart-centered joy is there. It has never left us and never will. We can slow down, take a moment to listen to our hearts. We can choose to stare fear in the face. It's just created in our minds anyway. And listen to our bodies. We can listen to our healthcare practitioners. We can listen to our partners. We can listen to our family. We can listen to our friends. And we can listen to our own thoughts. in our own intuitive guidance. We can slow down and listen and allow our hearts to discern if what we're hearing and thinking really resonates within our heart or not. That is where this deeper essence will resonate with you as you hear and listen, not just to others, but listening to yourself. We can also be willing to go within to what we think is the darkness, only to find that it's not real, and there is a brilliant light, which is our only reality within this heart of ours. Course in Miracles says there is no time and place where God is absent. There is nothing to be feared. Because fear, anyway, is not of the present. It is always attached to our thoughts about the past or the future. We may not know where we're going in the next moment. However, we can allow our inner guidance to take us into this joy of being. This heart-centered joy feels whole and complete. Not that we have to look to someone else to bring us this joy. It is already here within us. Love is this wholeness and completion already here. It doesn't judge. It's the field of our heart, which is the portal to everything, all that is. Perhaps you can remember an experience when you just knew something without knowing how you knew it. It's not a mystery. This is the connection to our heart. This is the intuitive connection and guidance that our heart is telling us. This is the Christ self. And maybe you followed that inner knowing, or maybe you kicked yourself for not trusting it. Had you trusted it, you would have been following your heart in this heart-centered awareness. Depending on how we choose to relate to our world and our experiences, it'll influence our ability to integrate, transform, and transcend any perceived limiting conditions and circumstances that we may find ourselves in, or we may think that we find ourselves in. It may seem like you're thinking in the now. However, stop and investigate. All of our thoughts, every single one, have some thread to the past. Has to be something we were taught. When were we taught it? In the past. When did we hear it? We heard it in the past. When did we experience it? Without memories and judgment, there could be no guilt. Living and embodying a heart-centered life is not about whatever you define as perfect. It's about being perfectly imperfect in this world that we're creating, including all the ways that we may want to change ourselves. So this limitless Christ nature eternally dances in our hearts, right alongside this small self of ours that always brings up limitations and deemed imperfections that we think we may have. We're never alone, and there's nothing wrong in asking for help along this journey. Don't be surprised that if you follow someone else's map, it may change the way that the landscape of your life looks around you. So check in with your heart sense and find your own way to your own true north, which is always within. Aristotle identified the heart as the seat of intelligence and sensation. The Italian physician Nicholas of Salerno in the 12th century declared the physical heart as the primary spiritual member of the body. In our modern information-driven world, the mind has now taken the lead. We've been programmed to focus on data collection, knowledge, intellectual pursuits. All this keeps us in our minds. Our mind is what carries the guilt of the past and all of these thoughts that we all have about the past. You know, all those numerous ways we always say, if only, if only. There's a brief poem that I like from an unknown author. Being responsible, I see. My past was the only one that could be. I could not have done it differently. And so from guilt I am set free. No nostalgia, no remorse. There really was no other course. Where there is no guilt, there is a present. Beautifully free and wholly me. Our minds and hearts are not mutually exclusive of each other, though, so there is no right or wrong way to be in our heart center. It's not like we're trying to get away from this mind. It always will be there. certainly reminding us that it's there. So this specific awareness to your heart will be unique to each one of us. We are always in our hearts. It is impossible not to be. Whether we're expanding it and sending love out and opening it, or whether we're guarding it and attempting to protect it. If you really be still and listen each moment, you'll know which one you're doing. And you have a choice. It's just a choice. How would you like to be with this heart of yours? So how many times have you questioned an experience and thought it wasn't for your highest good? A man who just walked out of a door of an office building where he had just been fired cried out, "Help!" And then he heard an inner voice that said, "You just got help." We spend countless hours analyzing, ruminating over the past, diligently in attempts to keep away what we don't want to feel, what we don't want to think, what we don't want to look at. But as small children, we are always in our hearts, innocent, open, and curious. Just think back to when you were like that, and receptive. Children are like little sponges. What if we were always like that now? We haven't lost that. We truly haven't lost that. So there was this young girl. She was 5 years old. She was returning home from a funeral of her great-grandmother. She was in the back seat of the car with her other great-grandmother. And she asked her, "Where did Grandma go?" Great-grandmother said, "Well, we believe she went with God. She went to be with God." And the grandmother said, "Well, how old was she?" asked the little girl. "She was 80 years old." "How old are you, Grandma?" asked the little girl. "I'm 85, she said. "Oh," the little girl said, "I hope God hasn't forgotten you." That little story reminds me of just how innocent we can be, how innocent we are. Looking at the world through the eyes of innocence, what happens? We have nothing to judge. The little girl wasn't judging her great-grandmother or judging any of it. Innocence is the force all around us that is conspiring to assist us to go within, to feel connected to this heart light in any moment. We don't have to wait for the new year to start, to change the way we feel about ourselves, to change the way we think about ourselves, to change the way we relate to others. Our hearts know we are more than all of this, and with curiosity and innocence, we can open to this inner joy anytime. No matter what your past year was like, you are here now, breathing in possibilities. With this breath that I kept referring to, we are breathing in possibilities just to be in this moment. If you set an intention to begin to live in this heart-centered awareness in this coming year, how would your life transform? What part of your past would dissolve? And what past would evolve? We have at our fingertips these true heart-centered joy, just like the internet. We have a universal spiritual internet right here. In a heart that has limitless information, limitless love, creativity, and expansive potential in these possibilities now. It's important to see, though, and know and be aware of the motives of our minds. And notice what emotions may be triggered by our experiences that we may want to feel we need to protect ourselves. And this will help you gauge where your heart is focused in any moment. As we forgive ourselves, we can remove the idea of thinking that we should have had a different past. Patience comes as we find freedom from time. This Christ within us invites us to step into our center where time stands still. This is the experience of truth. Time truly stands still. All is timeless, where love is timeless. Jesus stepped away from eternity, came into time, and remembered eternity. We stepped away from eternity and got caught in time. By that, we get caught in our past and we lose sight of our unlimited eternity and everything eternal. So there was a minister who was addressing his congregation. And he says, all those that want to go to heaven, stand up. Everyone stood up, but one older man stubbornly kept his seat. The minister said to him, don't you want to go to heaven? No, said the man. So the minister said, do you mean to tell me you don't want to go to heaven when you die? The man responded, of course I want to go to heaven when I die. I thought you meant now. We may not want to connect to this heart-centered joy when we're holding on to the past, when we're holding on to past resentments and regrets and guilt. Oh, heaven's going to be some other time. Heaven is here and heaven is now. I think the songs were just about that today. So we forget that because we already have all the time in the world that there is because it's infinite. There is no time. And we are not of this world. We often think we have to wait for something to happen, that we have to do something, that we have to say something, we have something to get in order to be joyful, in order to be this way, but that's always in some future time. Every day we have choices. We can come to know that our wholeness has always been intact in this endless stream before us. If we choose, we can go within and ask for spiritual guidance. We don't have to do this alone. You won't get a busy signal. You don't have to leave a message. This guidance is available 24/7. This can help deepen our trust and expand this heart center. We can be more patient with ourselves when we have a calm, tranquil mind. It just means breathing and being still in each moment and using this childlike curiosity and innocence that I already spoke about. Opens our hearts to this infinite potential that's within our hearts. When we do this now, the end of our calendar year, it does provide us with a natural opportunity, along with all the others in the world, to intentionally remember, reflect, and resolve anything that we have left unresolved. Despite the way we judged everything to look, all were gifts and blessings. Everything that we think of and experience is a part of our spiritual journey. As this calendar year comes to a close, we can choose to express gratitude for everything that's been brought to us. Every moment in time is complete. There's nothing we have to get to, nothing we have to go back and do. It's just like you are. No one sees what you see. No one hears what you hear. You are this infinite, powerful creator. And once we see the games that our minds play, we can decide if we want to play along or not. There were 4 monks that went on a silent retreat. They went for a week and pledged not to speak. After a few hours in meditation, one of them says, I wonder if I remembered to turn off the stove. The second one responded, you fool, you have spoken and we agreed not to speak. The third monk says, what are you thinking about? Now you too have spoken. To which the fourth monk says, I am the only one who has not spoken. This story reminds me that we don't have to fix anything. We can play along with the games our mind plays or choose not to. The world doesn't have to be fixed. It just needs to be loved. Our friends don't need to be fixed. They just need to be loved. Our children don't need to be fixed. They just need to be loved. Thinking that we know how to fix anything means we have made something wrong, and that we ourselves know the right way to fix it, and we cast the first spiritual stone. Be watchful if you frequently complain and are being a member of the Wine of the Month Club. Instead, catch yourself being joyful, coming from this joyful heart in this coming year. Refrain from looking back over your shoulder to a past that's gone. You are the love that is here and has always been here, and your heart is always speaking to you. Just a matter of listening. And how much do we listen? So breathe and create a space to reflect on what quality you want to call to yourself in this new year and want to expand. Because all of these qualities are already within you. You don't have to get it anywhere. You can stand tall with confidence, humility, and strength, and shine your light into whatever perceived darkness that you think may be there. Be curious, and if you choose, drop denial for just a moment and surrender to what you think you may have been running from, to see the love that is always waiting for you. This is what is meant by a self-examined life, and you can do it in any moment. In unity thinking, God is omnipresent, which means we are being handed a personalized, loving invitation to release fear and worry. And this, what we think, follows us, and look beyond everything to know that God is present in this moment of stillness. So for today, be easy on yourself. In this very moment that you made a decision about anything, you thought it was the very best one to make in that instant. Intentions come from our heart, and our joyful heart is here, patiently and eternally waiting for us to be still and be here now. If you want to set an intention, you can invite others to add to your intention, expanding the possibilities and the energy. The more people that participate, the more powerful the process. That is why we come to places like this on Sunday mornings, to work together, to set our intentions and goals. But let us speak our truths together, and as we do that each Sunday, we remember we don't need to do this just in this room, but in our heart-centered truth that is with us every day. There is power in our words, and this power is multiplied by the number of people that are speaking them, thinking them together. So then we can use this power for good, for not just for ourselves, but for the good of all. So you can decide today to create new heart prints in the sand, opening yourself to this joyful possibility that is everywhere in each moment, because your joyful heart is always waiting for you. So it is. Thank you.
What a timely message.